In the fourth episode of Special Ops, Lioness, we saw that Cruz was saved at the last moment by Joe and her team, and she was brought to the hospital as her condition was not good. Cruz had recovered, and she was ready to go back to the field, but before that, there was Kyle's mess that had to be handled, in which Joe was also now entangled. So, let's find out what happened in Special Ops, Lioness Episode 5. Joe finally reached the hospital, and she immediately went to have a word with Kate. Joe knew that she could not get angry or tell Kate that she had committed the biggest mistake of her life, as that was not going to help her cause. Joe told that she knew that she hadn't been there for her and that her work was taking a toll on her personal life. As much as she wanted to be around and spend time with her kids as Neil did, she couldn't because she had a field job. She too had gotten accidentally pregnant back in the day, and Kate got really shocked to hear that, as up until then, she didn't believe that her mother was capable of committing such mistakes. But Joe assured her that she understood where Kate's rebellion was coming from, and she told her that there was nothing wrong with it. She requested that Kate not punish herself because of the actions of her parents. She told her that, as much as she understood where her anger was stemming from, she couldn't see her ruining her life like this. She knew that Kate was better than this, and this newfound arrogance and brash behavior was a repercussion of feeling abandoned by her mother. Kate broke down as she knew the blunder she had committed, and Joe saw how emotionally wrecked that little girl was feeling. Joe told her that she knew about whatever had happened and also informed her that she was not pregnant. Joe said that she would try to balance her personal and professional lives, but they had to rekindle the bond that they had shared. Kate, after a long time, also had a genuine conversation with her mother without scorning her or losing her temper. Kate felt like someone had lifted a heavy weight from her shoulders. Those tears rolling down her cheeks were evidence of the kind of catharsis she was going through. Joe went out and told Neil that she would be gone for a couple of days, and Neil was clearly not happy with it. The man had been patient for years, but he was losing it. He didn't have his companion around him when he needed her the most, and he had no clue where his marriage was going. When Joe went inside, Caitlin told Neil that he shouldn't give up on Joe and should bear with him for a little longer as things would be fine. Neil said that he could never imagine doing that because whenever Joe walked in, he still had the same feeling as when he had seen her for the first time. Later, Caitlin gave Joe the option of getting her transferred to a position where she would be able to give more time to her family, but Joe knew that it was not the solution. Joe was happy about one thing: at least she had a good talk with her daughter, and years later, it felt like they finally understood each other. Kyle and Joe came for a briefing at the CIA headquarters, and they met Byron Westfield there. Westfield told them that the damage had been done and that the only way out of this mess was to succeed in the mission and capture the terrorists. Westfield scolded Kyle for going out of line and said that he was lucky that he was getting a chance to rectify his mistakes. After Kyle left, he also had a word with Joe and told her that she was way out of line when she sent her men to assist Kyle in his mission without taking any sort of permission from his seniors. Westfield told her that at that time, he was letting it go, but if it happened again, he would make sure that she paid for her actions. Joe went to her team and started preparing for the mission when she saw that Cruz was also present there with everybody. She asked Bobby why she had brought her along when she knew that she was an asset and that if her cover got blown, then their entire mission would be hampered. Cruz had been in a similar situation, and Bobby had thought that her experience might be of use to them, which is why she had brought her with the team. Joe asked Bobby to keep Cruz at the very end because she didn't want Alia to learn about Cruz's real identity. There were cameras installed in a safe house, and Kyle and others got to know that the terrorists had bombs with them and were probably planning to attack anytime now. After the discovery of the bombs, the directives changed, and the team was told to execute everybody present there before they killed anybody. The local task force was told to be on high alert and evacuate the entire area once Joe's team had killed the terrorist. Joe went inside with her team, and Cruz's experience did come to be of good use, and she proved her worth, something that she had been aching to do since she came aboard. Cruz always felt that Joe didn't have faith in her abilities, and she wanted to change that perception. After the mission was a success, Cruz finally decided to establish contact with Alia, and she told her everything like Caitlin had said but didn't mention the names of the people who were involved. Alia felt guilty for leaving Cruz out there and not being able to help her. The ploy worked, and now Alia was feeling even more sympathetic towards her. Joe had placed all her bets on Cruz, and she knew that this ploy of hers had to work anyway. Joe had been trying to mend whatever she could since the beginning of the story, but she felt exhausted at times because, at the end of the day, she was also a human. From her family life to the multiple professional crises that came her way, it was all getting a bit overwhelming for her. At times her actions made her guilty, at times sad, and at times extremely frustrated. Every day she encountered new obstacles, but she kept on moving forward as she knew that victory was just around the corner and things would be better after that. Joe, Caitlin, and Byron knew that the extraction and the Santa Monica mission were going to create problems for them, and they were mentally prepared. Cruz was all set to go to East Hampton, Long Island, and meet Alia once again. Caitlin's husband, Errol Meade, was an influential man, and he not only understood the system well but was well connected. Caitlin was called to the White House for an urgent meeting, and she wanted to know what she should expect. Both Caitlin and Errol were very particular when it came to their professional lives, and a lot of the time, even after staying in the same house, they concealed information from each other because such was the nature of their work. But this time, Errol told Caitlin that Secretary of State Edwin Mullins had cancelled his trip to Poland. Caitlin knew that this time, they had crossed the line and that they wouldn't be able to get off so easily. Caitlin also told her husband that they were in touch with a mole in Cadre Petrol, but the surprising aspect was that they were not the ones who had placed him there. This mole worked for some influential group or organization, the name of which Caitlin does not reveal. In the meeting, as expected, Mullins and his two other associates were sitting there, all greeted up to grill Joe, Caitlin, Kyle, and Byron. They were asked about the extraction and what had happened in San Antonio. The only reason Joe and her team were still out there was that they had secured a huge win by putting down the terrorist and saving the city from potential bombings. Byron knew that being successful in their mission was the only way they could come out of the mess that Kyle and Joe had created. Byron was an experienced campaigner, and he had foreseen this day a long time ago. Mullins asked Kyle to leave and then asked them what was happening with the entire Amrohi case. Mullins knew about it, and they were curious to know what was at stake and how Joe and her team were planning to execute the mission. Joe told them that this was the furthest they had ever gone, and if things went the way they wanted, Amrohi would be dead soon. In their conversations, in episode 6, it came out that Joe knew that there might be a possibility that Cruz wouldn't come out of the mission alive. Joe felt the guilt of pushing a young girl towards her own doom, but she was ready to live with it, provided they were successful in their mission. Joe told Mullins that they were planning to launch a missile during Alia's wedding and take out the terrorist. Mullins made it very clear that, in light of the recent events, the team had to report directly to them and keep them in the loop. Joe was told that the operation would be called Yellow Jacket and that the authorization code to launch the missile would be Mabel. Joe, Caitlin, and Byron were not happy about their independence being snatched, but they also knew that it could have turned out to be much worse. Meanwhile, there was another problem that arose out of nowhere when 3 men broke into the house where Joe's men were putting up with the intention of committing a robbery. Those thieves committed the biggest mistake of their lives, and soon they were taken into custody by Joe's men. Joe asked Kyle to go and resolve the issue and make sure that nobody comes to know about it and that the identity of her man doesn't come to light. Kyle settled the issue, and after an eventful day, Joe finally returned to her home. Joe had told Cruz that Alia wanted to know her as a person and that she should play her cards very cautiously. Joe could only guide Cruz, but once she was in there, she had to trust her own intuition and do what she felt was best for her mission. Alia wanted to pamper Joe and spend time with her, and she needed the entire day. They watched a couple of movies together, and that's when Cruz told Alia that if she felt so trapped, she should tell her parents that she didn't want to get married. Alia said that from where she came, things didn't happen like that. She said that her saying no would have the same effect on both families, and then, too, she wouldn't be left alone to live her life. Probably that's why Alia made all sorts of random plans, as she felt like she wouldn't be able to do anything after her marriage. Alia and Cruz lay close to each other on the bed, and there was something about the way they looked at each other. It felt as if Alia genuinely liked Cruz, and the latter also felt something similar. The next day, Alia told Cruz that her mother had called and that Mallorca had been chosen as the place for the wedding. Alia, in her excitement, came close to Cruz and very unexpectedly kissed her. It felt like it was long overdue, and the two girls got intimate with each other for a brief moment. But just then, something snapped inside Cruz, and she stopped, making it very awkward for Alia. In the end, left Cruz feeling conflicted from within. For a moment, she forgot she was on a mission. She liked Alia, even if she wasn't embracing that fact. Alia was genuinely sweet to her, and nobody cared for her the way she had in the past few days. We are very sure that Cruz will try her level best not to let Alia die there. Cruz didn't know what love was, and now that she had a person who treated her the way she deserved, she had to literally push her to her death. It won't be easy for Cruz from here on, and she has a lot of thinking to do about the kind of path she wants to choose. In the upcoming episodes, we will come to know if Cruz's feelings for Alia get in the way of her mission and if Joe gets a whiff of her internal conflicts at all. Thank you for joining us on this journey. And I hope you enjoyed the episodes of Special Ops Lioness.